Hi, welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. We are starting today. Our hot topic today is the situation in Maidugiri. And we are very privileged to have the Al Jazeera correspondent in West Africa, Yvonne Ndege, who wrote broadcasted a very important news piece from Maidugiri. Most of our reporters have not been able to get into the city and give a detailed account of what is happening there, but she did, and she had a very beautiful report that came out this week. So Yvonne, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much, Rudolph.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we are really pleased to have you. Let me start by asking you, how did you decide to go into, so quote unquote, the lion's den, the center of the crisis in the northern part of Nigeria? How did you make that decision, and what precautions did you take?
Well, I've been reporting on the crisis, the Boko Haram crisis, since about 2009, and I've been to Maidugiri on quite a number of occasions before, and in 2009 when the group's leader Mohammed Yusuf was killed. So it's a place that was quite familiar to me. But within the last year or two, it has been incredibly difficult, as you know, for the media to access Maidugiri. There's been a lot of, how can I put it, misinformation about access to the city. Initially, journalists have been told formally and sometimes formally that a journalist needs military clearance to travel to Maidugiri. The head of the armed forces has to give clearance. In some instances, the media have been told that Borno State, Maidugiri, are basically a security zone, which means journalists can't go there and film. And so I had been waiting for clearance, you could say, for quite a long time, over a year. And as you know, the crisis there has been going from bad to worse. And so I simply took a decision, a bold step, you might say, to just make the journey and see what I could see. And I was prepared to encounter what I may have encountered, just going there for myself to see firsthand what was going on.
So what did you see? How is day-to-day life for people there, ordinary people there in Maidugiri?
Well, it's really, really awful. I mean, it's not the place I remember. When you arrive at Maiduguri International Airport, literally from the minute that you leave the airport, you can see that there is a huge militarization of the capital, Maiduguri, and the whole of Borno State, in fact. Almost on every single major road, at every single intersection, you see dozens of JTF personnel. That's the Joint Task Force who are fighting Boko Haram. It's sandbags, it's checkpoints, it's guns cocked and pointed, it's JTF personnel wearing ski masks. Just a really awful sense that there is a low-intensity war going on across the city.
Were you allowed to go anywhere you wanted to go, talk to anybody you wanted to talk to?
Wow, that's an interesting question. It was very apparent from the arrival, from the time that we arrived, that we couldn't film openly. We couldn't erect our camera on the street in any part of the city without being questioned or stopped. And a lot of people said that if I tried to go there, that I would be stopped, that the JTF personnel would stop me from filming, even confiscate our equipment, some people said. So it wasn't a case of kind of just going out and filming. Every single shot that you see in my reports, which are still running on the Al Jazeera website, that's aljazeera.com, was stolen shots. I mean, literally, it was like we would film and just hope to get away with it and go to the next person, and the next person, and the next person.
Wow. So when you talk to people there, what is the sense you get? Are they afraid? Are they thinking there is hope? Are they feeling that the military is helping or not? What's the general idea of how they feel?
Well, I think opinion is divided. I mean, there is no question that the people of Maiduguri have had their lives totally disrupted. The economy of the city and probably the whole state has been completely destroyed by the Boko Haram crisis. The Boko Haram insurgency. There are those people who feel that the presence of the JTF is a help, in terms of securing the city, in terms of fighting Boko Haram members. But at the same time, people do feel that their presence has obviously brought a lot of disruption to normal economic life, normal day-to-day activities. For example, there's a curfew in place across the state, which starts at 9 p.m. local time. In fact, it was relaxed. It used to be 7. So basically from 9 in the evening until 6 in the morning, no movement is allowed. But even having said that, just to show you, the scale of fear that people feel, most people don't move around till 11 in the morning. I mean, we were told by people that they wouldn't even dare to try and go out before 11, because usually that's when JTF personnel are engaged in serious gun battles with members of Boko Haram, usually early in the morning. And then, of course, there is the whole issue of the presence of JTF and allegations by people that we met that some of the JTF personnel have been behind extrajudicial killings, disappearances, forced detention, arrest without evidence of suspected Boko Haram members. And, we met so many women who basically were crying out, to Al Jazeera to help bring what they felt would be justice. They told me stories about their sons, their brothers, their husbands, literally just being taken away by the authorities, having been accused of being part of the group with absolutely no evidence, according to them. And you see all of this in the report. So on the one hand, yes, there is a sense that people do want the JTF to be there to fight Boko Haram, even though it's having an awful impact on the economy. But obviously the impact is worse if you allow Boko Haram to continue their activities. And then on the other side, like I said, allegations that members of the JTF have been involved in massive human rights violations.
Were you able to talk to the military, to get their opinion whether these allegations are true, whether they were involved in these accusations of killing people while trying to fight the Boko Haram fighters?
Well, that's a really interesting question. First of all, I really want to say that I am extremely grateful to some of the JTF personnel who were gracious enough to meet myself informally. There's some very strict rules and procedures involved in even going to the JTF headquarters in Maidugiri. Basically, we were told that in order for any member of the JTF to speak to us, meet with us, even informally, they would have to get clearance from military headquarters in Abuja. But fortunately, we were able to, with the assistance of people that have to remain unnamed, because obviously they're concerned about the fact that they may not have followed certain procedures when it comes to talking to journalists, they were gracious enough to sit us down and basically explain to us what was going on and just how difficult it has been for them, like I say, informally. And a lot of them use the words war, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen to describe just how serious the crisis was there. A lot of them described a situation where you have, let's say, in some of these communities around Maiduguri, where you have brothers living in the same house. One of them might be a policeman, another one might be a Boko Haram member. So basically what they were trying to explain to us was that it's just really, really, really difficult for them to be able to differentiate between Boko Haram operatives and the general public, so to speak. Now, in terms of these allegations of human rights violations, which have been documented not just by myself, Amnesty International last month had a massive investigation into this, where they spoke to hundreds of people who alleged serious human rights violations by JTF. Now, when I put those allegations to the JTF, unfortunately, my requests for a response were met with silence. So they didn't actually respond to me on the whole issue of whether any JTF members had been involved in human rights violations, be it false detention without charge or trial, be it extrajudicial killings.
Wow, Yvonne, I know you have to go attend, and I really appreciate you are coming to our show. But let me ask you one final question. There's been this accusation by the Minister of Information in Nigeria that reporters are painting, kind of bringing the country down with negative reports. My question is, do you feel any kind of pressure while you are covering Nigeria that your reports are being taken to be contributing to that negative reports about Nigeria?
Wow, I mean, that's a really interesting question. You know, I do find Nigeria to be an amazing country. It's a fascinating place to live. It's a fascinating place to work. But there are issues that need to be addressed, serious issues that are affecting large swathes of the population. And I think the crisis in Maiduguri can't be brushed under the carpet. It can't be hidden away. I think that as the media, as civil society, whether we're in government, whether we're ordinary citizens, we all have to look ourselves square in the mirror and accept what's going on in Maiduguri as a crisis. I have felt pressure.
All right, that was Yvonne, the Al Jazeera correspondent who was in Maiduguri recently. She filed a report that was well received and gave us an insight into what has been going on in that part of Nigeria. When we come back, we are going to talk to Professor George Ayite. He is going to give us updates and analysis on the situation in Ghana. The election in Ghana that is taking place. It started yesterday, but it was extended today. And we'll come back in a few minutes and talk to Professor George Ayite.